Qua.
In any place.
In any place.
Cha.
Cha.
Also.
Also.
Kutrachit.
Kutrachit.
At any time.
At any time.
Va.
Va.
Or. Dina.
Dina.
Having a poor fund of knowledge.
Having a poor fund of knowledge.
Swam.
Swam.
Own. Atmanam.
Atmanam.
Self.
Alam.
Exceedingly. Samartha. Able. Vimochitam. To liberate. Kama drisham. Of lusty women. Vihara. In the sexual enjoyment. Krida mrigaha. A playboy. Yat. In whom. Nigada. Which is the shackle of material bondage. Visharaga. The expansions of family relationships. Tataha. In such circumstances. Vidurat. From far away. Varihritya. Giving up. Daitya. O my friends. Sons of the demons. Daityeshu. Among the demons. Sangam. Association. Vishya Atmakeshu. Who are too addicted to sense enjoyment. Upeta. One should approach. Narayanam. Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Adi Devam. The original of all the demigods. Saha. He. Mukta Sangai. By the association of liberated persons. Ishitaha. Desired. Apavarga. The path of liberation. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. My dear friends, O sons of the demons, it is certain that no one bereft of knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead has been able to liberate himself from material bondage at any time or in any country. Rather, those bereft of knowledge of the Lord are bound by the material laws. They are factually addicted to sense gratification, and their target is woman. Indeed, they are actually playthings in the hands of attractive women. Victimized by such a conception of life, they become surrounded by children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, and thus they are shackled to material bondage. Those who are very much addicted to this conception of life are called demons. Therefore, although you are sons of demons, keep aloof from such persons and take shelter of the Supreme Personality of God, Narayana, the origin of all the demigods. Because the ultimate goal for the devotees of Narayana is liberation from the bondage of material existence. Report. Prahlad Maharaj has maintained the philosophical point of view that one should give up the dark well of family life and go to the forest to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hitvatna tatam griham andakupam vanam gatoyam tadim ashrayeta. In this verse also he stresses the same point. In the history of human society, no one at any time or any place has been liberated because of too much affection and attachment for his family. Even in those who are apparently very educated, the same family attachment is there. They cannot give up the association of their families, even in old age or invalidity, for they are attached to sense enjoyment. As we have several times discussed, yan maitunadi grihamedi sukham hitucham. So-called householders are simply attracted by sexual enjoyment. Thus they keep themselves shackled in family life. And furthermore, they want their children to be shackled in the same way. Playing the parts of playboys in the hands of women, they glide down to the darkest regions of material existence. Adanta gobir vishitam tamishram puna punash charivita charvanana. Because they are unable to control their senses, they continue a life of chewing the chewed, and therefore descend to the darkest material regions. One should give up the association of such demons and adhere to the association of devotees. Thus, one will be able to be liberated from material bondage. Vidona kashchit kwa na kutrachit va hina swam atmana malam samartaha vimochitam kama drisham vihara krida mrigoyam yigado vishaygaha tato vidurat prihritya daitya daityeshu sangam vishayatmakeshu upeta narayanam adi devam samukta sangaya ishito bhavadaha. My dear friends, O sons of the demons, it is certain no one bereft of knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead has been able to liberate himself from material bondage at any time or in any country. Rather, those bereft of knowledge of the Lord are bound by the material laws. They are factually addicted to sense gratification, and their target is woman. Indeed, they are actually playthings in the hands of attractive women. Victimized by such a conception of life, they become surrounded by children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, and thus they are shackled to material bondage. Those who are very much addicted to this conception of life are called demons. Therefore, although you are sons of demons, keep aloof from such persons and take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, the origin of all the demigods, because the ultimate goal for the devotees of Narayan is liberation from the bondage of material existence. So two transcendental assets are being stressed here. One is spiritual knowledge, or a philosophical inquiry into the absolute truth, and the other is the association of the devotees of the Lord. Both are very, very vital for success in the human mission. That success is, of course, to go back home, back to Godhead. Philosophical inquiry. Of course, we can say that by observation that many devotees, I would probably have to say most devotees, do not have the typical type of brain that one considers, ordinarily, and we're talking in material or academic terms, ordinarily, that one would say is a philosophical brain, but actually that so-called philosophy is not philosophy. Prabhupada called it philosophy. Which is, just as Prabhupada is writing here, even those who are apparently very educated, even in those who are apparently very educated, the same family attachment is there. So there are persons who are endowed by nature with a brain with many different pigeonholes, different compartments to put different facts and figures. And so they make that their profession, to excel others as learned people. They become academicians, professors, scholars, experts, so on and so forth. But despite all this academic education, one can see that their basic interests in life are the same as that of the Shudra. In fact, in this Shudra culture, they're living just the same, exactly the same. There's no difference when you go to their house and look what they're doing there. More or less involved in the same things as any low-class factory worker. So this is why it is philosophy, not philosophy, because they're fools. So real philosophy, actually, it's revealed in the word itself. Philo in Greek means love, and Sophia means knowledge. Actually, this word Sophia is really referring to spiritual knowledge in the classical, traditional sense. So, love, philo. So, when love is projected into the material existence, then it becomes lust. But love is originally spiritual. So, when one has love of knowledge, that means What does that mean? That means actually by knowledge, by inquiry, by a deeper examination of life, he's trying to turn his love, his attraction away from the ordinary things, from those things which have captivated everybody else. Sri Prahlad Maharaj is very explicit here, at least. Of course, he's speaking from a man's point of view because he himself is in a male body. So he's saying, for those who are not actually serious about cultivating knowledge, about awakening their spiritual love, then their attraction is all bound up in woman. And the same is true for the opposite sex. For women who are also just being carried away by material nature. And then their attraction in life is simply men. And that is the ultimate focus of everyone's inquiry, male and female, about the opposite sex. What is she doing? What is she thinking now? What is she wearing? Where is she going? That's the big questions of life. For the materialistic person, materialistic man, and for the materialistic woman, the same, directed to men. What is he doing? What's his name? Where does he live? Who are his friends? How can I speak with him? And on and on and on. And so, of course, this is in human society all dressed up and made to look very respectable. But ultimately, what is it? Maitunya agra priyameri sukham hitucham. Maituna means sex. And agara means shackle. It's like on the leg. They fasten a chain to keep, in the old days, or maybe now, in some places also still, to keep a prisoner from running away. So he has a big chain shackled there, and it might go to the wall, or might go to a big iron ball or something like that. But anyway, this shackling prevents him from escaping. Yes, so this is this sex life. It is the shackle of Maya which prevents the human being, despite even having a big brain with many compartments, it prevents him from ever getting out of material existence. Material existence, what is that? Again, as I said, you can see the academicians, finally their activities are just like those of the Shudras, low-class people. And then when you examine again, more carefully, you find that these people altogether, Shudras and academicians, whoever they may be, their activities are just like those of the animals. I was just seeing the other day, Manira Prabhu was giving me some different video cassettes. So one of them was a nature film. And so it showed, horribly enough, there was a scene of some frogs in a cave. Big herd of, whatever they call it, herd or pack or tribe of frogs. During the mating season. So these frogs are just crawling all over each other, having sex in the darkness. And it's a very horrible sight, at least for one who understands that it's horrible. Slimy, green frogs jumping around on each other, having sex again and again and again and again for hours. So, yeah, this is the business. This is the business of the conditioned souls in all species. And so a human being who is not serious about diverting his attention or his attraction away from matter, then he must become captivated in such kind of activities. We're all subordinate. We're not the master. There are those who try to claim, no, the human being is the crown of creation. There's no God above us and everyone else is below us. all other creatures of the world. We can do as we want. But no, just the very fact that especially this kind of human being who claims such thing is most lusty. He cannot control his senses. So that proves you're not independent, because you cannot give up this sex life, which is abominable. No, it's not abominable, it's beautiful. So that's what the frogs think also. That's what the insects think. That's what they find any disgusting creature underneath a rock. Pull up a rock and you see them squirming, going back into their holes. That's also their philosophy. Sex life is so nice. And because we think that way, therefore we have to accept life after life, such horrible kinds of bodies. Because this is simply lust for matter, lust for... Actually that sex desire, that sexual attraction, is the very essence of the relationship with matter. They think it is beautiful because they actually think this is personal. See, they take sex to be spiritual. That's the real illusion. That's the real Maya. They take sex to be spiritual, but actually it is the very essence of materialism. Anyway, we don't want to get into it, but that's what it is. You see, the body that's being embraced is just a sack. It's just a bag of all kinds of nasty elements, as the devotees know. But as many other people have, still is a lesson for them to learn. They spend just like the young ladies, they spend their time looking at these fashion magazines. All the beautiful girls from Paris and Rome dressed up in the latest clothes. And they're taking this to be real. They're thinking, I want to be like that. But what is that? This is actually just a sack of stool. And bones and blood and flesh with hair sticking out of it, combed in different ways. Then on top of that they put some different clothes. Tried to make it look very nice. So this is the attraction of ignorant people, people who are not thoughtful about life. So they have to suffer. That's the plain fact. Because they're so ignorant, they have to suffer. So one who's serious about knowledge, we can actually say this. One who's actually serious about knowledge is serious about getting free of suffering. So serious that this person can understand that the sex, the so-called enjoyment, is just the other side of the coin of suffering. Sukha, dukkha. This word sukha, that you'll find in the Shastras, Bhagavad Gita many times. Actually, basically, the word is referring to sex enjoyment, sukha. And this sukha, in so many verses in Gita, it is allied almost as one word with dukkha. Dukkha means suffering. So when we pursue sexual enjoyment, that means, what is your vehicle of sexual enjoyment? This body. And what is this body? It is something that will grow old and get diseased and will die. So the more one is attached to sex pleasure, the more one must suffer. That's the simple fact of life. And not only suffering for one life, but this sex pleasure drags one on, life after life after life, through so many bodies. So to be really serious about knowledge means to understand the inseparability of these two principles, sukha and dukkha. And if you want to get out of dukkha, then you have to give up the sukha. So this is knowledge. And then how do we attain this knowledge? Therefore the other point. Association of devotees of the Lord. So those who, yes, may seek this knowledge, but who do not take to the association of devotees, then they're always harassed by material nature. Like that story is there. Bilva Mangala Thakur. So Bilva Mangala Thakur, he had in his previous life, he had been a devotee himself, but had not quite attained perfection. Thus he had to take birth again. And in the next birth, as Bilva Mangala Thakur, he became fallen. He was a Brahmana. He had all opportunities, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. All opportunities were there. He was born in Brahmana family. His father was very pious. But he succumbed to this degraded attraction. And this is a warning for every one of us. That Bilva Mangala Thakur, he was almost in his previous lifetime sadhana. He almost came to the stage of perfection, just a little bit short. But you see, if one is not very, very serious about Krishna consciousness, very, very strict and very, very persevering. Persevering means to be very attentive in devotional service. And even though one has progressed to a high standard, still there is always the danger of falling down because this attraction is so powerful. So this is what happened to Bilva Mangala Thakur. He became overwhelmed by lust, and he became Krida Mirga, a playboy. And he had many girlfriends. And even his father, his pious father, even when he died, and Bilva Mangala Thakur was to perform the funeral rites, he was so agitated, thinking he had one, among his girlfriends, there was one, Chintamani, whom he was most fond of. And so he came with the funeral procession to the crematorium. And he was, because he was the son, he was to perform, according to the Hindu system, he was to perform the actual ritual, lighting the fire to consume the body of his father. But being so much immersed in sense gratification, you see, if one is always lusty, then one is a fool, one is stupid. So he was like that. He was looking upon his father's dead body and he was thinking, oh, why do I have to see this? Why, this is horrible, dead body. I don't want to be here. And then he was thinking of Chintamani, another dead body. But this is the foolishness. Here's the fact in front of you. It's a dead body, but you don't want to see it. No, this is horrible. Instead, what is attracted to a breathing dead body? It's foolishness. But this is what happens when one is lusty. So, actually he ran away. He ran away. He was supposed to light the body of his father and say the prayers and so on. But he just ran away, right in the middle of the ceremony. And this was a great shock to his family members. And he ran off to see Chintamani. And then, I think most of you know the rest of the story. The storm came up and he had such difficulty crossing the river, holding on to a dead body, thinking it was a log. And then at the end understanding, oh, I was hanging on the dead body, and climbing over the big wall, hanging onto what he thought was a vine, but which turned out to be a serpent, a cobra. When there is thunderstorm, then cobras, they seek a hole. They seek shelter in a hole. So this cobra saw a hole in the wall. He was caught in the rain. He didn't know. And he looked and he could see there was a hole in the wall. So he thought, I'll crawl in there. But that hole was not big enough. So a cobra, when it sticks at least can get its head, the first part of the body, into a hole. And it's very difficult to pull it out because it just clings there. So that's how he could climb up the cobra body. And then he jumped over the wall on the other side, and he sprained his leg. He was injured. And so soaking wet, covered with mud and blood, and he was banging on Chintamani's door. Chintamani, here I am, let me in. And she was saying, oh, is that you, Sunil? Calling out names of different men. Oh, it's you. What are you doing here? She began to chastise me. He was thinking, but I've come such a long way. Why are you chastising me? Because you don't have any money. Well, you know, I mean, I sold all my father's property, and now my father's dead. What am I going to do? But I love you. Well, what is this love? And then she began to speak in this direct, straightforward way. This prostitute philosophy, which on a certain level is similar to our philosophy. The conclusion is different. Prostitutes are also very cynical about this business, because for them it's just a way of making money, and for them men are just fools coming for sex life, and so they just get money from them and send them on their way. Okay, get out of here now. Thank you very much. So she began to speak in that way, first of all. And that was a great shock for him. But then because also she was a devotee. You may think that this is unusual. How is it possible for a prostitute to be a devotee? But in India, this is India. So she was actually a devotee. Actually, she was a very advanced devotee. She, in the sense that she had within her heart great faith in Krishna. You see, in India, the thing is what is called Vaishya, or prostitute. That's a kind of caste. So a woman who is born into such a family, her woman is a prostitute, or her mother is a prostitute, and she gets raised as a prostitute. And everyone looks upon her as a prostitute. So it is very, very difficult for her to change her material destiny. So, but still, among such women who are born into such unfortunate profession, there are many devotees, so she was one. So then she made the remark that you've taken so much trouble breaking off from your father's funeral ceremony, coming here, the raging storm, injuring yourself, just to see me, just to associate with my material body, which is just, and then she explained what the body is. And then she said, if you would focus such determination upon the real goal of life, Krishna consciousness, and instead of being a great fool, you'd be a great saint. You'd be a great devotee. Now you're just a great fool. So this was all like slaps in the face of Mangala Thakur. He was astonished by all this. And this is a lesson for us too, because yes, we can see how Maya is mercy. Maya does this. She slaps us in the face. Like fools, we pursue Maya for sense enjoyment. But when she gives us a kick, this is her mercy. At least for those who are intelligent. So he was intelligent, having been a devotee in his previous lifetime. So then he thought, yes, now I have to, she's told me these things, so let me realize them. So then where did he go? He went to the great saintly person, Somagiri, his ashram. Somagiri, great devotee of the Lord, spiritual master, he had many disciples. And Bilva Mangala Thakur surrendered to him and received instruction in Krishna consciousness. So Bilva Mangala Thakur had 3 gurus. One was, he counted Chintamani, his Vartmana Pradashika guru. Because of her sharp words, this awoke him to the real purpose of his life. Then his Diksha guru, his initiating spiritual master, was Sri Somagiri. And finally, his 3rd guru was Lord Krishna himself. When he went to Vrindavan, then Lord Krishna took care of him in the form Lord Krishna was coming as cowherd boy. Bilvamananda Thakur had blinded himself. But because Krishna consciousness had penetrated his heart, therefore when he was alone with this man's wife, he just asked for the pins that she had put in her hair pins, and then he took them and put out his own eyes, blinded himself, because he considered that my eyes are so rascal. They drag me away from Krishna consciousness, so better I don't have eyes. So then after that, in this way, having surrendered himself completely to Krishna, then Krishna took care of him. So in Bilvamananda Thakur, we see the example. If one is serious about giving up, one becomes serious about giving up this sinful attraction, then one must take to the association of devotees. Otherwise, just like there are others who try to cross beyond this attraction, but by some different method, by austerity, renunciation, living alone, away from society. But they are plagued by this attraction again and again and again and again. The famous story is there. Prabhupada says one of the most famous stories is that of Vishramita Muni, who is meditating all alone. But Indra became alarmed that the sage is becoming so powerful by his austerities, so he sent Menaka, a beautiful dancing girl. So he was meditating with his eyes closed, so as not to see anything. But Menaka very intelligently, because she had on her ankles, she had these bells, so she began to dance, stamping her feet down on the ground, and that caused her ankle bells to ring. And so Vishramita Muni, then he opened his eyes to see what is this sound, and then he saw this beautiful Apsara, a dancing girl of heaven. So these women are much more beautiful than the women of earth. And seeing her and seeing her dancing, he was allured, he was attracted and became captivated by her for a long, long, long time. So Srila Prabhupada said that despite all of his austerities, he was just like this example, fire and butter. In Menaka's presence, all of his austerities just melted away. So actually entering the association of devotees, just like in Krishna consciousness movement, it's so nice. Here we have men and women in this movement, and both are serious about achieving the real goal of human life. So in that association, if we take it, it's a question of really taking it, but in that association, being always reminded about being reminded by not only by word but by deed, by seeing the behavior of others, about the meaning of sadhu. We are to be sadhu in this movement. So sadhu means saintly person, and there is sadvi. Sadvi is feminine. This word is also used in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Sadvi, sadhu, sadvi. So sadhu means sadachar. Sadachar. Achar means behavior. Sad means spiritual. So sadhu, sadvi is a man or woman who keeps spiritual behavior. I have this opportunity in the association. I'm a man, I associate with the Prabhus. If I'm a lady, I associate with the Matajis. And learn from them. At least the serious ones. Not everyone is so serious. Sometimes we have to discriminate. Learn from them what is proper sadhu, sadachar, proper spiritual behavior. So this is very, just like in the Karmi society, they have their modes of behavior, again aimed at sense gratification. And you see how difficult it is to be free of that influence for one who's living in such society. He or she may be a good person, reserved person, but it is so difficult to be independent if all your association are people who are interested in sense gratification, because that's all they talk about, that's all they do. When they see you, they say, come on, let's go drinking, let's have fun. And man is a social creature. So it is so difficult to break free of the urge for sense gratification in that type of association. But similarly, if we enter the association of devotees and actually take to it seriously, not with duplicity, not officially, but actually giving our heart to this association, then by that association one is carried back home, back to Godhead. It's a very simple point. Very simple. So this is the glory of Vaishnava Sangha. And so Sri Prahlad Maharaj is instructing his schoolmates to do two things to become successful in getting free of this lusty desire. First of all, we must be philosophical in the real way, inquiring how to get free of all material suffering, which means to get free of this maituna agara, the shackle of sex enjoyment. And then secondly, that freedom that we are seeking will be found in the company of devotees. So one should take to that seriously. So are there any questions?
I want to ask, what is perfection of sadhana? Bilva Mangal Thakur, he was in the position of perfection of sadhana and then fall down.
Yes, well, as I said, until one achieves the perfectional platform of devotional service, one is always prone to fall down. And that perfectional platform is Bhava Sororuham. This is in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. That bhava means the emotions, the emotional state. So when the emotions are completely captivated by Krishna, in other words, the propensity for loving another person, the attraction to another person's association, when that is fully taken up by Krishna consciousness, then one can be said to be free of this lower attraction. But the platform of following is sadhana. This is, the reference is rules and regulations, not attraction to Krishna. One who is on the sadhana platform, it is understood this person's attraction to Krishna has not fully awakened. Perhaps partially. That's the higher level of sadhana called Raganuga Bhakti. That's also sadhana bhakti. It's still also considered just practice. But some attraction has awoken. Vaidhi Bhakti platform means the attraction is very, there is also must be some attraction, otherwise why would we be interested to do this? But the attraction is very unsteady. So Vaidhi Bhakti especially, the reference is the rules and regulations that we must follow. Spiritual master is saying, follow these four regulative principles, follow this sadhana. You must do this. This is rule. And so, because we want to please the spiritual master, we don't want to fall down, we want to get free of Maya, then we take this seriously. We follow. Even if there is some attraction, still to material sense enjoyment, we hold it in check. by determination. This is the blessing one receives by seriously trying to follow the spiritual master, his instructions. Then one receives the blessing of determination, that one can follow. First you have to try. And if you try seriously, then you can by his grace. So, but still, because the heart is not given over completely to Krishna, that attraction is there. The mind, you see, even though we're following the principles, the mind is drawn to something material. We see that. Everybody sees that all the time, how the mind is wandering. So Krishna in Gita, in 5th chapter, he's explaining the mind must be brought back. One has to drag the mind back. So, by practice. So one can fall down at this stage if one becomes inattentive, just like Maharaj Bharat. He was also a very advanced devotee, but had not yet achieved full perfection. And by inattention, he was practicing the rules and regulations perfectly. But by a little inattention, some circumstances had arranged that this young deer came under his care. So, in the association of that deer, he became inattentive. And then the remembrances of the deer began to pervade his mind more and more, even without his really checking it. But he became more and more attached to the deer. And then suddenly he died thinking of the deer and had to take birth as a deer. So this is the clear illustration of how it happens. Inattention. Just like in chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. If one is inattentive, then this is an offense and it leads to so many other offenses. And by offenses one falls down. One doesn't even check how it's happening. Suddenly one is in great trouble in his spiritual life. And is wondering, how did this happen? Inattention. As soon as you're asking yourself this question, how could this have happened to me? It means inattention. You weren't paying attention. That's all. But again, association, this is what saves us. If we're in association of devotees, we could be saved by this. It's like the story of the boy who was flying a kite from the roof of a house, so he was running around, flying the flat roof like in India. And then he was coming very near to the edge, running backwards, coming very near to the edge. And a man on the street called, "Hey, watch out. You're ready to step off the edge of this house." So this was the boy's good fortune, that there was someone seeing what he's doing. Of course, the boy was puffed up. The boy turned and said, "Why are you checking me?" Now this is a problem. Even though we have association of devotees, this persistent false ego, when one is surrendered to the false ego too much, then the false ego impels us to push away that help that comes from the devotees. This is dangerous. Anything else? Yes? Principle of Prabhupada Desh. Well, it simply means that the spiritual master gives you a place. Desh means a place or a region, a country. So if the spiritual master orders the disciple to preach in some particular area, cultivate this area, make this place Krishna conscious. This is the command of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to that Kurma Brahmana. Yari Deki Tarikaha Krishna Upadesha Mara Avyaya Guru Tandra E Desh. We'll use the word Desh. The Kurma Brahmana wanted to go with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on his tour to South India. And Lord Chaitanya said, no, you have no business going with me. I'm sannyasi, you're grihasta, you have your responsibilities in your home. So you stay here, but you preach. And how do you preach? Lord Chaitanya said, whoever you see, just tell them about Krishna. In this way, Amara Agyaya Guru, you become Guru, Hanra Edesh, and save your region, this area in which you're living. So that is Bhagavata Desh. Yes?
This philosophy is nothing for the devotees, but yesterday we spoke about working hard and just criticize the attitude of wanting to be the doer, like that. So my question is philosophy something for us or not? Should we?
Philosophy is not for us. Philosophy, yes. Tesham Gyani Nityukta. Eka Bhaktir Vishishati. Lord Krishna says that devotee who is situated in knowledge is most dear to me, describing 4 kinds of devotees. So that one who is a devotee, Krishna is not talking about some mental speculator, some absent-minded professor. Because he says, Tesham Gyani Nityukta Eka Bhaktir Vishishati. Eka Bhaktir. That devotee, he's fixed in devotion. But why is he so fixed? Because he has knowledge. Because he knows that if I don't serve Krishna, I'll be in Maya. If I don't practice devotional service very, very seriously with all my attention, then I can be misled very easily. Maya is so strong. This is the devotee in knowledge. Actually, we can say he knows. Maya is so strong. That's what he knows. Maya is so strong. So therefore, I have to remain very firmly at the lotus feet of Guru Krishna and the Vaishnavas. Always trying to get their mercy.
One doubt in this regard. Is it possible that now one may think, well, now maybe 20 years I've been a devotee, and now the body comes to the point where it also has less feasibilities of possible sense gratification, especially in the matter of sex. So then one becomes a little overconfident that I'm no longer susceptible to.
Prabhupada used to speak, especially when he was visiting Paris. He was sometimes joking with some of the persons who were on his morning walk entourage. There were elderly gentlemen who were with him, and he would joke with them how I've heard in this city that there are clubs where old men can pay, they pay a big sum of money to enter the club, and they have these clubs where they have these women, undressed women who are dancing on the stage. So Srila Prabhupada said, these men are so old, they have no possibility of physically enjoying sex life. But the attachment is so strong, nonetheless, that they're paying big, big sums of money just to see naked young women. So, this is sex life. If you want to be kind, you can say, oh, it's subtle sex life. But this man is in Maya. He's completely in Maya. So really, it's actually this is the real point. It's really a question of where the attention is focused. Because even sex life, the physical act of sex life can be engaged in Krishna service. In the conception of child according to the codes of Grihastha Dharma. And so there we find in Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita and so on, there are many accounts of great devotees, husband and wife, both, who conceived of pure Krishna conscious children by that method, because they were Krishna conscious. That means their attention is focused on Krishna. So even the business of sex, they engaged in only for Krishna service. So the real question is, where is the mind? That's the real question. So the mind is just absorbed in lusty business, this lusty imagery. And this is the perversion, because the original state, Adi Rasa, pastimes between Radha and Krishna. This is it says Adi Rasa, the original sex psychology. He uses this expression, sex psychology. Psychology. So those who are liberated devotees, that is their psychology. They're thinking always of the Nitya Lila, Shri Radha and Krishna. And those who are in Maya, they're thinking of this frog business. In the material world, in the dark material world. Their minds are focused on this.
Is that psychology of the Adiras, thinking of Krishna and Radha Krishna? Would that manifest in philosophical?
No, it's not. Well, of course, there's a philosophical aspect of knowing that this is not material. But Prabhupada said one has to become very practiced in Krishna consciousness, very purified, before one can actually enter into this. That's why philosophy, the cultivation of philosophy must be first. Philosophy means to distinguish between matter and spirit. That Adi Rasa psychology is for the Paramahamsas. So they've already achieved, they're already fully situated in spiritual life. So, and Prabhupada said there's nothing you can do, this is very important, there's nothing you can do to artificially generate this. It must come. It comes in Nectar of Devotion. He says that there is no need of discussing the intimate pastimes between Shri Radha and Krishna while one is still on the platform of having to follow rules and regulations. In other words, we're following the rules and regulations because we don't have this fully manifest attraction to Krishna. So on that platform, there is no need to enter into these discussions. There are some who think that this is the way to awaken this rasa. Is that on this platform we just talk about these things. You know, this is the highest. Everything else is just mode of passion. Restaurant with so much passion. Just sit and talk about Radha and Krishna and gopis. Then we'll become advanced. But Prabhupada never approved of this. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati never approved of it. Of course, there must be an interest. The interest is there. It is nectarian, even for devotees at our stage, when we hear some nice pastime. That is good. Drops of nectar. But you must know that this taste is awarded. It's not something you can churn up yourself. This taste is awarded. The fact that we have some attraction, that is all mercy. And that attraction I was explaining in the lecture yesterday. How do we get it? It's coming by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the disciplic succession through service. Service in Sankirtan.
How to get the right mood to get rid of this lust of desire? Because it seems to me that there's many ways. I mean, is it that I can get rid of it my way? Or is it same to everybody? I mean, one way for everybody.
You only get rid of it by mercy. Because you are not the master of this, in any case. This is an affliction of the soul. The soul, because we are Jivatma, we must be attracted by something. That is our position. We are very small. We are meant to be fixed under the shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. But we have fallen down from that shelter and come under Maya. So returning to our original state is a matter of mercy. We cannot, by our own effort, by our own strength, just extricate ourselves from Maya, just pull ourselves away from it, and then fasten ourselves to Lord Krishna's lotus feet. It's not possible. First of all, Maya is too powerful. You can't break free of her. And secondly, Lord Krishna's lotus feet, just like that verse has it, they're always situated in the spiritual realm of Goloka. Lord Krishna never leaves Goloka. How you'll get to Goloka? You'll take a bus or what? I say yes. You can only go to Goloka by the Lord's permission. So therefore you have to satisfy. So it is only by mercy. And mercy means Guru Krishna Prasadi by Bhakta Latavi. By mercy of Guru and Krishna, the seed of bhakti, the seed of awakening attraction to Krishna is implanted in the heart. And then once it is implanted, then it is our responsibility. This is what we can do. Actually, what we can do is not be in the way of the process. We should water, and we should be careful under the instruction of spiritual master to make sure no weeds grow in the garden of this bhakti lata, this creeper of devotion. Getting in the way of the process is again, I would say mainly because of inattention. Mainly because we have this great fault of taking things for granted. After having become a devotee and after having tasted some drops of mercy, then we begin to think that we're advanced and everything's all right. And as advanced devotees, we no longer have to be so attentive. And then Maya comes back and grabs us again. So there is only one process, and that's the process of nurturing this bhakti lata to its maturity. When it blooms, fruits and flowers, which are compared to the riches of love of Godhead. So there's only one method, but one has to prosecute that, one has to practice it properly. Yes?
There are many rules given in the devotion about sadhana behavior, how to can do this special method. But some are reluctant to follow it because in Israel one has so strict and like that, like in those days when it was written. How important is it to try to follow?
Well, it's a razor's edge, as Srila Prabhupada would say. Prabhupada once remarked, this is the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, not the International Society for Rules and Regulations. So there is some justification for someone who's very knowledgeable in rules and regulations and how they're to be executed he may find some fault in us. So you're not doing this, you're not doing it. But if that person is always remembering Krishna and everything, then he's rightly situated. So that is the actual point. So if we find ourselves that we're not always remembering Krishna and never forgetting him, if we're having trouble with this, then we have to look again at the rules and regulations and how we're following them. We should take that as an indication that we are being lax in sadhana bhakti. We're leaving too much out. You know, ISKCON is it's an international society. So there are temples, especially the larger temples, well-established, long-established temples. They're generally at a much higher standard than smaller, more preaching-oriented centers where they perhaps don't even have deities, installed deities. But still, even in such temples, if the devotees are simply applying themselves to their fullest to preaching, to sankirtan, so one sees that the level of sadhana is very simple, yet because the devotees are so sincere and serious about the mission, therefore they're also, they have completed all the requirements of the rules and regulations, because they're Krishna conscious. One just sees the devotees are bright-faced, happy, enlivened, eager to preach. So this is the point. And sometimes we go to the well-established temples and where they have very elaborate deity worship, but we may find that the spirit is not as good as that. Although there is, a full schedule and everything, because yes, just only by following rules and regulations also, that's not everything. Rules and regulations there's two things. Rules and regulations are for protection. They protect the devotees' Krishna consciousness from being contaminated by Maya. But then there's another thing, must be the taste. If there's no taste, then following rules and regulations becomes very dry. And then one loses interest. The taste becomes diverted to Maya. So there must be a positive taste, and that taste comes from enthusiasm for the primary activities of Krishna consciousness, which are hearing and chanting and remembering. These three, out of ninefold processes of devotional service, these three are held to be primary. There are others like the Padasevana and Archana, deity worship, menial service. They're important, but they're not primary. What's primary to Krishna consciousness is hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna. The one who's enthusiastic for that, then he'll have taste. So this is important. Taste, and then also, we must follow the rules and regulations, because I may have enthusiasm, but if I'm not strictly following, if I'm not attentive to keeping myself clean, internally and externally, then I will lose that taste. Yes?
So in Western tradition, there is sometimes in philosophy they try to find base the whole philosophy, and they find a self-evident beginning, which don't need any further proof. So my question is, in the devotional philosophy, if this is served by the taste divine, or by the ananda that comes but this is the living with, and that I don't have any, and therefore I cannot.
Actually, that's a very good point. Yeah, that is actually the proof that Krishna is God, for instance. How do we know? How is it that the devotees here know that Krishna is God? It is by taste. It is by taste. And actually that is the real proof. Krishna is in Vedanta, which is Vedanta Sutra, which is the extreme level of philosophy. So Brahman is identified, Anandamaya Purusha, Anandamaya Vyasa. So he's abundantly full of pleasure, bliss. So one who tastes this Ananda, then he knows. One who is chanting Hare Krishna, tasting Ananda, and in this way satisfied, no longer attracted to material sense gratification. And for him that's sufficient proof that Krishna is God. What else does he need? Everything else is just a matter of time. Krishna has already revealed himself to his devotee. And then Krishna will reveal himself more in time. But already substantially, in essence, he has revealed himself, and that devotee is therefore rightly situated. Whereas the mental speculators, their self-evident proof is, where is it? It's just in the realm of mental speculation. And one man's mental speculation is not acceptable to another person. So it comes down to this, that these philosophers, or philosophers, are all like a bunch of horses, with their blinders. And so what each horse sees, that he can accept, because it's self-evident for him. But the next one, the horse next to him, no, you're wrong. This is the truth.
Can it also be said that a reason why science is so much accepted as convincing, that they have given this sense that
Yes. Prabhupada said this is precisely the point. Because people are fools and they have no knowledge of higher taste. Therefore, whoever